All right, guys, we're back, and I just wanted to kind of talk about Nick Shirley real quick. He's the guy that has broke all of the fraud allegations and things like that in Minnesota against Tim Walz and stuff like that. But my interest is that he went to Cuba as well, and all of this The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because they indicted or subpoenaed Hasan Piker. He still hasn't gotten it or anything yet. I like Hasan, so I follow his content, and he hasn't gotten anything yet. He's gonna lawyer up, and he's gonna go from there. That's all that's really happened so far. But it's over whether or not he allegedly stayed at a verified hotel. So if you don't know, if you go to Cuba, you have to stay on a list of approved hotels that you're allowed to based on the U.S. If you don't, that opens you up to criminal investigations, right? Like that they're trying to say he did. So there was I think it was like a fake tweet that was going around at the time saying that he was not staying at the correct hotel. But he did. It was a 5-star hotel because they force you to spend your money and stay at those because they're in business with the U.S. But it was approved, right? So he is fine. These are just fabricated charges, or they're investigating because they want to throw him under the bus and get him in the spotlight. I do think that this is gonna backfire, and I already think it is because all the attempts, from the DNC going after him, they've all backfired because once people actually listen to what Hasan is about, they realize this guy sounds great. He's got pretty good ideas. But now when we kind of point the spotlight back at Nick Shirley, he actually did stay at the wrong hotel. He didn't stay on an approved one. And so I wanted to just go over a couple of things here real quick, keep this segment short. But just a quick couple of things that I found. Let's show you this real quick. All right, and this is just I wanted to do a quick Google search because I couldn't find like an actual article because no one's covering this. But I know for a fact he stayed at at one of the hotels that wasn't approved because in this next post I'm gonna show you, he has like a 13-minute video where he says where he's staying. But just a quick Google here, like you could see that yes, independent journalist and internet personality Nick Shirley stayed at the Hotel National in Cuba, where the U.S. State Department's Cuba prohibited accommodation list. U.S. citizens are federally prohibited from staying at properties on the list, which features hotels operated by Cuban military and government. And then you can see here like the incident and stuff like that. So he stayed at the wrong hotel and he talks about that. But jumping into this next clip real quick, which is this one. I'm not gonna play the video just because I do not care for this guy, and I don't feel like making you guys watch 13 minutes of video. But he says that he was almost taken hostage. They took all of his stuff, and basically he's kind of scared at this point. And in this video is where he kind of goes into where he's staying and what's going on. But yeah, maybe that wouldn't have happened if you stayed at the correct place, and maybe you weren't, trying to, I don't know, just get bad publicity and bad faith. You know what I mean? Because that's all he's doing at this point, and he's just a bad actor. There was a podcast, it might have been Theo, where Nick Shirley went on Theo's podcast, and I think that Nick was basically like saying, what was it? It was calling, like saying, was it? Yeah, it was about Charlie Kirk, and he was saying, oh, well, you should condemn that. And Theo goes on to say, I actually did. You should watch it. And Nick basically says, no, I'm not watching that. My opinion has been decided. But anyway, on to the next one. Hasan Piker, he responded after being subpoenaed. I've kind of already covered this, but basically he goes into what they did. The hotels they stayed at, and he just explains it was in coordination with a couple other group. I believe it was in coordination with Pink, and one of the main people that coordinated that and paid for it, I believe they're investigating that guy, which is why they might subpoena Hasan Piker, which is what he said in his own video. But again, like they're fruitless. They're just trying to get publicity and go from there. I did want to mention though, the last thing, real quick, is that Nick Shirley, like with all the fraud investigations and everything that he is so worried about, one of my buddies actually pointed out this to me and mentioned that the Mormon Church, specifically the one that he is associated with, has to pay fines to settle charges it hid and approximately $32 billion in investment fraud. The funny thing is if you go down a little bit and actually read, they only paid a $5 million fine for their, oh snap. Excuse me, sorry. They only paid a $5 million fine for their $32 billion investment fraud. He's a part of that church. He was one of the people that I forgot what it was called. Was it a missionary? He was in there though. So I don't know. I just think that this whole thing is funny. It seems like they really jumped on his bandwagon and now he's basically just a sponsor of the GOP because they're not going to investigate him for this. They're not. He was probably sent there by the government anyway to undermine the humanitarian aid. You know, like, I'm sorry, but sending over medicine, ramen noodles, and canned goods, like, that's what Hasan was doing. They're feeding starving people because we are starving them. And you want to go after that. Like, again, like, there's a morality line. There's a line that I feel like all people should have. And I just swear to God, MAGA just doesn't have any. They have no morals. It's gone. It's just a cult. But that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about with Nick Shirley. So, there you go.